Coming up in this week's show, we're on the lookout for a suitable vehicle within a viewer's monthly budget of just 3,000 Rand.
The Suzuki Grand Vitara and the Haval Jolion go head to head.
And we examine the pros and cons of CVT transmissions.
Hello and welcome to Buyer's Guide. We'll be tackling a fresh batch of your vehicle-related questions and queries once again. And here to help us this week are Brandon Staniford from Marula Media and Mike Bradshaw from Top Gear Auto. Nice to have you gentlemen back.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back, guys.
Remember, if you like the panel's advice, you can send us an email to buyersguide@ignitiontv.co.za and please include as much detail as you can, plus a clear photograph of yourself.
Okay, we're going to kick off things with a question from Francisco, who hails from the Vaal, and he's a big fan of the show. Thanks, Francisco. He's the proud owner of a 1998 Opel Kadett 160i. Despite hearing concerns from a friend about its reliability, he's managed to drive the car for 4 years without any major issues. However, he recently experienced 2 breakdowns and is now contemplating purchasing either a Suzuki Celerio, Mahindra KUV100 or the Kia Picanto. He's also open to additional suggestions and he's got a budget of about 2,500 to 3,000 Rand a month. Mike, I got 2,500 to 3 grand a month. What can you give me?
Suzuki Swift.
There we go, buy Suzuki Swift.
Yep.
But he didn't say, he said Celerio.
I know, but you get so much
Yes.
more car.
In a
Rather go
Swift.
for a year older or 2 years older, get a Suzuki Swift.
Mm-hmm.
It
Looks better for starters.
For starters, it drives better.
Because it's a 1.2 as opposed to a 1
It's
litre
solid, it doesn't,
Yes.
and you'll be able to overtake a truck on the highway.
on the downhill.
So can I ask you something? Why are you not picking on Mike now? He said Suzuki Swift. If I said that, Mike, he'd make, Segi and his Suzuki Swift again.
Because you normally come in with a Suzuki Swift when a guy wants to buy a Range Rover.
Not it.
What do you
Yes.
So, Celerio is not a bad car, but the Picanto, among them, among the A0 tiny cars, Picanto drives the best.
Yeah.
Very comfortable. Picanto feels more polo
Yes.
than what it does Celerio.
Yeah.
So if he's sort of not hell-bent, but if he's interested in an A0 small car,
1.2 Picanto.
1.2
Not the 1 litre, 'cause the 1 litre's
Picanto,
there.
but 1.2 Picanto is very comfortable. It's well built. It's nice. Although it is getting long in the tooth now. How old is the current version we've got? 10 years?
Yeah.
8 years?
Yeah.
So it is old. Among those options he gave, Picanto, but I'll change feet halfway and I'll agree with Mark. I'll say buy Swift.
Yeah. The other one that you could look at as well, which is Picanto's, let me call it ugly sister, and that's the Grand R10.
Yeah.
Which is the same vehicle, basically just Hyundai's version, mechanically the same. Which is actually also not a bad little car to drive around in.
Very comfortable to drive. They're
Yeah.
very comfortable. The ergonomics, when you get in them, they're super easy to drive.
Yeah.
Look, any of them, I have no experience with a KUV100, none whatsoever. I've never driven one.
Just that it's one thing I found about Mahindra compared to the other brands that he had is spares availability. You're stuck with the dealers.
Yep.
Where with things like the Kias, the Hyundais, Suzukis, there's aftermarket availability in terms of cheaper maintenance. And when you're buying a budget car, you want cheap maintenance.
Any one of those options, maybe apart from the Mahindra, are going to be an enormous upgrade from his 18-year-old.
The Mahindra's not bad, but it's just when you're competing against cars like the Kia and like a Suzuki Swift or
Celerio.
Celerio, whatever, it's going to be bottom of the list.
Yeah.
You'd rather go for something which is prettier. I quite like Mike's idea, and I think it's a good idea, is to go for, you're going to get, Mike, what are you going to get for, in this sort of budget? What's it, 180 grand, that sort of
Yeah,
budget?
round about between 155 to 180.
And the Suzuki Swift, you're finding that?
You will definitely find a little 1.2 GA
Yeah,
in that budget,
Yep.
for sure.
yeah.
Even on that GA, you can put a set of mags,
Yes.
and it raises it. to look
Why are you looking
better.
at me when you
Oh,
say
no,
that, Mike?
I'm not.
But when you put a set of mags on a Celerio, it does look a bit, it doesn't fit it. Aesthetically it doesn't. it's
I've
not
just
pleasing.
thought of something small that Francisco must just calculate in his
Yeah.
decision. So that Kadett 160i is going to give you 10 k's a litre-ish.
Yeah.
They weren't heavy, but
Yeah.
they were not
In
light.
their day it was normal. Yeah.
If he buys a Swift's going to do 18 k's a litre every day of the week.
Yeah.
It's about
So he can maybe
5.7 to
take
100,
some
yeah.
of his fuel money and
Depends on the mileage he's doing, yeah.
Flip
Because
it
his fuel
over
consumption,
into-
his bill will be half his,
Yeah.
but his insurance will be more. So
yeah. So,
Six-
but
six of
that's
one.
something you can look into.
yeah, so it's a good option to have a look at that. Okay,
Our next viewer is Kingsley from Limpopo, and he's writing on behalf of his 65-year-old dad. His dad currently drives a 2015 facelift 1.6 Chevy Cruze. However, the car consumes petrol excessively, making the drive less enjoyable. Also, the car is too small for his dad. Despite the car having a full service history by an RMI dealer, they want to part ways with it. They're considering replacing it with something like a 2005 or 2006 Toyota Camry or a Honda Accord. However, they're unsure about the fuel efficiency given on the two cars their big 2.4 litre engines. With a price bracket of 150 to 200,000 Rand, what would be the best buy to put him in that kind of sedan again? Mike?
Well, first of all, the Camry and the Honda Accord are great choices, but if he thinks his fuel consumption's
Gonna
high
go down.
on the Chevy
You wait till
Cruze, he's in
Wait
for,
till he
he's in
sees
for
one of these.
a hiding of biblical proportion on the Camry or the Honda Accord. I think he's got to go and look at a Toyota Quest in that price range.
But he doesn't want to be an Uber driver.
Kia Rio sedan,
The Kia Rio sedan's quite
very
a good
nice car. Also got nice legroom. Or if you really want something ugly, the Beluga.
The Beluga?
Looks like a Beluga. Nissan Almera.
Listen, Almera.
Yes.
Who signed that design off? I still want to know.
But the
But it'll
Nissan
give,
Almera
it'll give you
It's
reliability.
quite
And
compact though, sitting behind the steering wheel. It's
Now-
not a very roomy car.
What about the Sentra? Remember the Nissan Sentra? It looks like an Almera. It's just as ugly. It was also conceived in the
Slightly larger.
in the sushi bar one night when too much sake was drunk. You know, the
Yup.
guy who was designing it.
or the guy who signed it off.
Yeah.
Either or, they were both
He had
drunk.
a heavy night at karaoke. And
Well, they
okay,
fired
this
the
will do.
designer, and that oak that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
supposed
yeah.
to sound it off just drew it.
None of these cars will get stolen, though.
Yeah, that's true.
The
So-
Beluga, I wouldn't steal a Beluga. I wouldn't take a Beluga if you gave it to me.
The Sentra was much bigger
It
in
was.
terms of space. So if you're not fussed about looks, and let's be honest, you're driving a Chevy Cruze,
Cruze, yeah.
and you're considering that Camry he's talking about is that Australian Camry.
Yes.
And the
yeah,
Honda
those were
Accord.
terrible looking.
I
The
mean,
Accord was
none
pretty.
of them. I mean, the Accord is okay. I mean, out of all of those, I'd say, look, the Accord, but you're not going to get better fuel consumption.
Two slight twists here. I think something's wrong with the Cruze
Yeah,
at 11.4 litres per 100 on the open road.
just get rid of it.
That's something's wrong there.
They don't
Okay.
try fixing it.
So they're problematic.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. On the other side, 65-year-old dad is struggling with his legs getting into a Cruze. A Cruze was not small.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
wondering if they shouldn't be looking at something
High.
with a slightly bigger profile. Let's say Renault Duster, Corolla Cross.
Yeah.
I don't know if it fits within their budget constraints, but
Well, what they're looking at here, you're not going to find those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Maybe from an earlier show, I remember Mike mentioning something like a Honda CR-V. So
Yeah.
you get a Honda CR-V, you're going to get more legroom in it. And like you say, you can get into it in and out. And in 150 to 200,000 Rand budget, I think his budget was run about there,
yeah.
you're going to find
What's the
something.
consumption like on a 2-litre CRV?
Look, they're not great. And, but,
What kind of mileage are you looking at, Adam?
100 to 150,000 Ks on them.
Well, the Honda will last.
Yeah,
10
but
times.
in terms of fuel consumption, remember, you can get a car that's really good on fuel consumption but unreliable mechanically.
Yes.
So you're spending money on the mechanics. So if you're spending a little bit extra, 200-300 Rand a month on fuel, maybe an extra half a tank, it's a lot better to do that
For
than
peace
to
of
spend
mind.
for peace
Yeah.
of mind than to spend 5,000 Rand a month on maintenance.
CRV is properly comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I must say I've had a couple of them and they've been really good cars. So there's our advice for you. Have a look at that.
Why
But-
wouldn't you guys consider a 320 diesel?
Because we are out of time and the 320 diesel is very expensive to maintain and to buy one in those price ranges. Okay, stay tuned because after the break, that was quick, wasn't it? The Suzuki, Grand Vitara and Haval Jolian come under the spotlight.
And we guide a viewer regarding an appropriate bakkie for towing and transporting cargo. You're watching Buyer's Guide, and if you just joined us, welcome to this week's show. Tafatswa, a 31-year-old with a small family, is currently weighing his options between the Suzuki Grand Vitara GLX manual and the Haval Jolian luxury auto. Tafatswa frequently embarks on long road trips every 3 months and annually has cross-border road trips to either Zimbabwe or Botswana. He seeks guidance in determining the most suitable car for his needs and welcomes any additional recommendations, with first preference for the Suzuki or Haval. There's a budget of 400,000 Rand, gentlemen. I know what I'd put him in, but I know he's looking for a smaller SUV. What would you put him in, Brendan?
Between his options, I'd put him in the Suzuki. The Jolion is a bit heavy on fuel. Ultimately, I believe the Suzuki will be more reliable. In that budget, I would add the Corolla Cross into the mix. It has just won its category in the Cars.co Consumer Awards. So that's not just us journalists saying A is better than B is
Look,
better
it's a
than C.
freaking Toyota.
Yeah.
It's got the right badge on it. It's going to go forever.
And there's a consumer element brought into it.
When he wants to sell it, there's 100 people in a queue.
Yeah.
It's not the most exciting, dynamic car,
It doesn't need to
but
be.
it's one of the best you can buy.
Yeah, I
It
reckon.
really is. If you want an A to B car, you can't. It's just
And that the
fantastic.
1.8 XS
Any of them.
will do in the 6s liters per 100. It's not heavy. It's not a racing car.
If you get in the Jolion and drive the Jolion, it's fancier. It will give you more features. It will drive you mad with its ding-dong, berry bell, Christmas tree dingies that
Rubbish.
ding-dong all day long
Yes.
and drives you nuts. You'll get all those features with it. Toyota will just say, let's just go.
Yeah.
Let's just get in and go.
It'll start always.
Get in
Mike,
and go.
Haval and Cherry are definitely going to send them cars tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're in big trouble soon.
we're in trouble. No, but I mean, you know, I like the Chinese vehicles, but if you're going to buy something like that, I would buy the Suzuki. But Mike, you tell us, what do you think here?
Well, if I'm going cross-border, at this stage, I wouldn't look at Chinese at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to feel safe within our borders.
Yes.
That's not to say that they're unreliable, but if something ping pong does go pong pong,
Yeah.
then you need to be close to a dealer. And if he's going cross-border, then the Suzuki Grand Vitara is great. I like your other option with the Toyota Corolla Cross.
Yeah.
But if he wants to blow the budget and go south of the budget and put some jelly beans back in the till, I'd look at Suzuki Franks again.
Yes.
Or otherwise, the new Honda Elevate.
Elevate. That's actually a very good option.
Then you're putting 100 grand in your pocket for presents for mommy and the kids,
Yeah.
and you've got
We were on Elevate
You know,
launch recently.
guys,
and it's very spacious.
We should
very,
also
very
consider, if
spacious.
he's going cross-border, the kind of fuel that's available there.
These are all petrol cars. So on petrol cars, you should be okay.
You see what I like about the Grand Vitara, the Toyota Cross, the Honda Elevate? All of them have got non-turbocharged, simple,
Basic engine.
proven, reliable engines.
1.5. It
Yeah,
won't go
they're
wrong.
not fast, but I mean, they'll all do 120 on the highway and stay there all day long.
And crossing into Botswana. Botswana, you can't speed.
Yes.
Like you get,
Even
you
if you
get into
could.
proper trouble.
Yes, you're getting a problem.
You
Proper
can, if
trouble.
you want to do speed, irrespective of the consequences, you can. But all those three cars are, if you're playing, the lotto, you're going to win with those three cars.
Yeah.
With the Haval, you're going to get a nice car. I'm not saying you're going to have trouble. You may have no trouble with it. But if it does give you trouble when it's out of its warranty period, you're going to cry.
Yeah.
It's going to be expensive. Because any car that's got a turbocharged engine, it's not just slap a turbocharger on, it's all the other bits and pieces that go with it, the heat that's generated by that turbocharger, the electronics that go with it, they can just give so much more problems. So if you want something that's long-term reliable, go for a non-turbocharged car. Unless you're somebody who wants that extra power, then
Why don't
take
you
the chance.
recommend one of your favorite cars?
The what?
An EV.
An electric vehicle, because their budget, like
And cross-border.
says, why do I go on him about Suzuki Swift when somebody wants a Range Rover? Because somebody wants to take a vehicle cross-border.
Yeah, there's more electricity across border than there is here.
And you,
There's more electricity across
You've got to
border.
get there.
Yeah.
Yeah?
and the problem is an EV, you can't buy
Yeah,
one for
but you
400,000
love it so
rand.
much. I thought maybe you'd slip it in
I
there.
love EVs. I think they're great to drive. I'd never buy one. Right, moving on. Yolisa recently sold a Ford Ranger single cab that he used for his logistics and service company. Now he's in search of a more reliable and powerful bakkie with additional cab space. He's contemplating whether it would be wise to purchase a 2015-2016 D4D Hilux Dakar or an Isuzu KB300 or the newer Toyota Hilux GD6. Alternatively, should he explore other suitable options? He is specifically looking for a bakkie in the club cab category for towing and transporting goods. Well, we've got the perfect chap who tows. Mr. Tow My Caravan all over
the world, yeah.
Brandon Stanforth.
Yeah.
What would you go?
So the Hilux is a tricky one in that instance. In terms of reliability, I would buy an Isuzu.
Yes.
It'll just never go wrong. So I would look at, I would buy a 1.9 D-Max, which will tow. They're rated to tow, I think, 3.2 tons on the 1.9. Very little he's towing is going to be 3.2 tons.
Yeah.
Yet when he's not towing, the D-Max is going
It's
to
fine.
do him 16 k's a litre. It is
Yeah.
superbly light on fuel. In terms of towing, if he tows more than 50% of the time, and he tows relatively quickly and quite heavy, Ford Ranger.
Yeah.
There is nothing that tows like
That's
Ranger and Everest.
Yeah.
Nothing. Trailer anti-sway control is just so advanced. You don't need any stabilizers. Every now and so often, someone's trailer that's not loaded very well will go through a link in a bridge, have a jump, and if it starts swaying left and right, the Ranger, you don't even know. It just, and it settles
And this is
down.
from somebody who, I mean, you literally tow your caravan every weekend somewhere.
Well, not quite, but yes.
Follow him on Facebook. You'll see every weekend there's a new car attached to his caravan. Mike, your feelings on this?
Look, he's looking at a 2015, 2016. That's obviously in his budget. So the Isuzu 1.9, I have to agree that if his budget allows for that, that's my number one.
Because you're also taking a theft risk out of it, aren't you?
Completely.
Yeah. Yes.
So the two Toyotas, as much as they are good and reliable, you have a target on your head, 100%. But the KB300, fantastic, but also Mitsubishi Triton.
That was my choice, Mitsubishi Triton.
Yeah.
Because you get the club cabinet.
Yeah.
The previous Triton, yes, but not in the new one.
If you can forego the club cab as a
Just
bakkie.
get a double cab then.
Yeah, or double cab.
Yeah, but I suppose because he wants a club cab, because he does logistics, he must probably wants that bit
Wants a
extra
bigger
space.
He needs the packing space.
Yeah.
So, also being a business, fuel is going to be an enormous cost for him.
Well,
so
any logistics company, I mean,
let's say his budget is 400,000 Rand.
Yes.
If he bought a 1.9 Isuzu, he could push his budget to 550,000 Rand and buy a brand new Isuzu, because I guarantee you he will save that 100,000 Rand a year in fuel.
just like that. Well, there is more great advice for you. Thank you for that. That's great advice.
Yeah, thank you, Brendan. We'll be taking a short break, but when we return, we examine the pros and cons of CVT transmissions.
And we advise a viewer on whether it's time to change the gearbox oil in his Mazda 3. Welcome back to Buyer's Guide. Our next viewer is Lulas, the proud owner of a 2012 VW Polo with a manual transmission. He's considering purchasing a new Toyota Starlet with an automatic transmission. He's heard concerns about the reliability and maintenance costs associated with CVT transmissions. How true is this, and should he be worried? Now, if I remember correctly, that Starlet is not a CVT.
Yeah.
In my notes, it's not a CVT. It's an old 4-speed torque converter auto. Some guys will go, "Ooh, but the technology is old. Why is it not a 42-speed Tiptronic Waffle-O-Matic?" And you just go, "It doesn't need to be. It's
100. I'm with you.
4-speed torque converter auto. It'll go down the road. It does what it says on the tin.
And there must be one
It'll
brake.
never break. But it's not a CVT.
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah.
I would go with the Starlet, but I'd stick to manual.
Yeah.
But if he's hell bent on it, the gearbox is bulletproof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be
Nothing wrong
reliable.
with it. Yeah.
And if you want even a better deal, you go and buy a
Baleno.
Suzuki Baleno, which is
Yeah.
actually what the Toyota Starlet
Starlet
is based on. It's the
But
same
it's
car, and you
cheaper.
may find, and you must probably take a little bit of the theft risk away from it as well, because it doesn't have the badge.
His Polo with a manual transmission could be a 1.4. If it is a 1.4 Polo,
It
that
also won't
that
pull
also won't pull the skin off a rice pudding.
Yes.
I'll change from the dog's bottom. But, so I do think the 4-speed auto, if you just slightly change your approach to driving it, if you're looking for comfort in traffic, that
Perfect.
4-speed auto
Just goes, changes gears.
does
If you
what it needs.
somebody who drives the car hard, then don't waste your time. Buy a manual.
And that same person would be equally frustrated by a CVT.
100%. So he wanted to know, I mean, he's asking about the CVT, what are the differences? I mean, basically, what people don't like about CVTs are the fact that when you're on the highway especially,
Sounds.
you get the CVT drone where the engine's revving very, very high. It feels like a clutch is slipping in that. But in and about town, I actually think CVTs are quite good. I find in our repairs, we repair more automatic gearboxes than CVTs.
CVT, yeah.
They don't give a problem. But it's all down to maintenance. CVT gearboxes, majority of them, need oil replacement every 40 to 60,000 kilometers. And otherwise they fail. With the automatic transmissions, if you don't change the gearbox oils, they don't generally fail, but they'll fail at a later stage. But if you do change the oil like every 40 to 60,000 kilometers in automatic transmission, in my opinion, most probably will never fail in its lifetime. It's all about maintenance, 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 and a little bit more maintenance. Okay.
Okay, Adam's droning. Our last question is from Eunice, the owner of a 2018 Mazda 3 Dynamic with 38,000 kilometers on the clock. He's wondering if it's advisable to change the gearbox oil now.
There we go.
Or should he wait until the vehicle reaches?
I think I just answered that question.
I think you just did.
Yeah.
Yeah, every 40,000, change the gearbox oil.
Well, this is an automatic, normal automatic, so the
60
recommendations
is-
for Mazda is every 60.
60, yeah.
So do it at 60.
Do it at 60, and it's
Those
low miler.
Mazda 3s, so the actual internals is getting a little bit technical. Those Mazda auto gearboxes,
Sky Active.
Sky Active, they had a torque converter, but they were quite intelligent inside. So it is a very high-tech
Unlike Seggy.
auto. Yeah.
Okay. It had a bit of intelligence inside the gearbox.
It's a very high-tech auto. I don't know if that has a bad. Are you aware of any of them failing? I mean, in the test cars I've driven hundreds of Mazdas, and they feel identical always. You don't suddenly get one where you go,
What's the problem? Yeah.
what was that weird like lurch or lunge or
Mike would
noise
know,
or squeak?
In terms of Mazdas, you most probably don't sell many of them because most people keep them for a long time.
They do, but they never come back either. They
Yeah.
don't break.
If you do sell them, they never break.
They don't break.
Yeah.
It's one of those cars, I think in this country, I mean, I remember in the 80s when the Mazda 323 was the top selling car in the country.
Yeah.
What's happened with Mazda, I don't know, but more people really should buy Mazdas. And I think a lot of it's to do with motoring journalists like you that say, every car should have a turbocharger on it, so it must go like hell, man.
Yeah.
It's really fast. And the Mazdas don't. They just don't. And I like the technology because if you're going to buy a car and you're somebody who wants to buy a car and change it every 3 years, buy what the hell you like. But if you're somebody who buys a car
keeps
who wants
it,
to
yeah.
keep it for 10 years so that when your kid comes out of school, you can give him the car to go to varsity, buy yourself a Mazda.
And it's not a
Because you
theft
know
risk.
They are
It's bulletproof and it's not a theft
They're
risk.
beautifully made.
Yes.
And they're
solid.
later
well
years,
together.
they were very high spec as well.
Yes.
They
They
had leather and the
They are a
ACs.
bit expensive, but if you look at paying a little bit extra when you buy it, you know, you won't have maintenance issues for the 10, 15 years that you own that vehicle. There won't be any, you'll be very unlucky if you've got a big bill, and that's normally because you're driving.
There's a bit of a trend has happened today. If you're looking, if reliability is anywhere on your radar, buy a Japanese car.
100%. We've been saying that here for years.
Yeah. You're
Hey,
new to the
guys.
show, are you, Brendan?
And unfortunately, just like that, we've come to the end of another episode. Brendan and Mike, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks.
All your useful information. Thank you very much.
Until next time, remember to keep left, pass right, and please, as Adam says, only idiots and
Emergency vehicles.
drive in the yellow line.